Okay, so I'm recording. Uh, hey everyone, it's me and Howie. We're talking on Saturday, November 21st, 2020. Just a little weekend chit chat about all things esoteric and conspiracy. How you doing today, Howie?
I'm doing pretty good. Feeling a little happier with some of the bombshell revelations yesterday.
Yeah, we kind of saw this one coming. I'm gonna share my
Yeah, we saw it coming.
I'm gonna share my screen. Just we're playing around with new technology. Just gonna go through my
Yeah, we
Facebook.
got some new stuff going on here. Hopefully,
We're just gonna
make it a
go
little
through my
more, make it a little more appealing.
Facebook feed here. First of all, before I start with Nevada, there's a rumor going around on Twitter that Trump and members of his administration or cabinet met on election night, like late. When they stopped the counting, they were all in the Eisenhower building, which is where the vice president is, right behind the White House, the old Eisenhower executive building. And,
Right.
and they were watching in real time the vote changing through all the Dominion software and all the various electronic cheating, and that the Supreme Court might have been among the members who were observing this. That becomes interesting when we see the appointments of the new circuit judges, all lined up Republicans for the swing states. I'm going to bring you now to Nevada. The headline is Total Ballots Cast 1,327,394. Total presidential election votes, however, is 1,405,376. So there's a difference of about 80, 70, 80,000 votes. The spread in Nevada at the moment is only 33,500 for Biden.
Right.
So that's twice the spread is discrepancy or the irregularities. The In Nevada isn't even considered in play yet. So
Right.
places
That's
like
right.
Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona are closer than that. So we're talking about 5 states. This is a hit or miss on the election. I'm bringing you now to this. Um, um, I went back to Veterans Day. I was like, well, where was President Trump on Veterans Day 2020? That was right after the election. No one was paying attention, but like always, he was at Arlington. The reason I wanted to look at that was because this Wednesday, November 25th, will be John F. Kennedy Jr.'s 60th birthday. So
Wow. That's right.
tomorrow is November 22nd, which is, I think, the 56th or 57th anniversary of Kennedy's assassination, President Kennedy's father. So JFK Jr. was uh, 3 days shy of his third birthday when his
30th
father,
birthday. Yeah.
of his third birthday, when
Oh, oh, oh. Oh,
he was 3 days shy of his third birthday party when his father was assassinated. So this is probably one of his earliest memories. The theory is that he's still alive. You might think that's crazy, but the more you look into it, the more sense it makes, and that he's been just working in some undercover capacity for the U.S. government to catch his
you
father's
mean so
body.
that the whole thing was like a CIA black op? In other words, they staged the so-called plane crash, and he's been basically an agent ever since.
Yeah, the idea was the concept is that he faked his own death because if he didn't, they would have killed him. Because he was at that point in 1999, he was clearly going after the deep state and his father's assassins.
I understand that he named the newspaper George because he was not about George Washington.
George
It
Bush,
was
yeah.
it was about George Bush, who definitely was in um, on November 22nd. He was definitely in on record
Yeah.
in
You'll see reference to
Texas
JFK
and
Jr.'s
Dallas.
plane gets sold
Yeah.
for a, but that was his first plane. If you read the articles carefully, it was
Hmm.
the plane he learned on, not
Wow.
the plane he crashed in. That plane was also recovered, and we haven't seen it since. And I heard at the time, 20 years ago, that it was sealed under national security until sometime around 2022 or 2025, which is around now. Uh, so, anyways, the idea is like if you look at the picture here of President Trump, this link I have here actually goes to a YouTube video, and you see Trump and Pence standing in the pouring rain a couple weeks ago, just saluting the. There's a wreath, and they're saluting. And the person next to Pence is not Defense Secretary Mark Esper. He was fired on November 9th. So the person next
Right.
to Pence is the Secretary for Veterans Affairs. His name is, I think, Robert Wilkie. His name is Wilkie. Looks just like Mark Esper, but it's not Mark Esper. Uh,
Mhm.
so you'll see that President Trump salutes a lot. He's a civilian, but he's commander in chief. But I bring up in my Facebook comment here, and I'll read it to you from Wikipedia. According to some military manuals, the modern Western salute originated in France when knights greeted each other to show friendly intentions by raising their visors to show their faces, using a salute. Others also note that the raising of one's visor was a way to identify oneself, saying, "This is me, who I am, and I am not afraid." Medieval visors were, this is me talking now, medieval visors were, to this end, equipped with, oh, I didn't actually know that this is still Wikipedia, equipped with a protruding spike that allowed the visor to be raised using the saluting motion. So I write, thus, the archaic original salute had the practical application of allowing soldiers to identify friends from enemies. Then I
Right.
talk about the fact that Esper's no longer there at the ceremony. So he goes there every year, and it's not too far um, where they lay these wreaths from JFK Jr.'s JFK's grave. JFK and RFK are buried in a plot very close to where they have these veteran ceremonies. And if you look at it from above, it's a giant letter Q. So if JFK Jr. is still alive, you'd expect him to be around his father's grave on these days. Also, there's a small crowd there in the rain with the president. They're all wearing masks, so you can't tell actually who those people are. I'm going to move along. The United States Space Force on Twitter posted a picture of a SpaceX rocket going off this morning. I didn't look into it. Lock and load, things are going to get a little messy. That talks about the Supreme Court assigns
Oh,
Trump
yeah.
top four justices to key lawsuit states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. So they break it down which judge has which. I think Clarence Thomas has Georgia, and
Yeah, I have the list right here. It's Kavanaugh is Michigan, Comey Barrett is Wisconsin, Alito is Pennsylvania. Now, Alito, as I put on a previous video, is on my channel. Alito was the one that they were ignoring his order, and they just ignored it in Pennsylvania. And now they're going to be under his jurisdiction in this. That should be interesting. And then you
that's
have
right.
Thomas in Georgia. Yeah.
So the circuit courts are usually for emergency motions and stuff like that. So that would come into play in challenging certifications. Uh, there was a nice Tim Pool video that was a half hour long, going into all the nooks and crannies of that issue. I wrote, "Do you still believe in Camelot? 3 days to 60." So not only, yeah, so Wednesday will be JFK Jr.'s 60th birthday, 20 years since he disappeared or allegedly died. And if he were to appear now, it would just have such an effect on the public. No, worldwide, people would
Oh, it would
basically,
be like a mind. It would be like a god smacking moment, a mind fuck. Everybody would be like freaked out.
they would burst
Especially,
into tears because, all you basically, it would, because that's what it was. It was
like
Camelot.
that whole concept. We talked about this a couple of times about Lazarus. Remember, you were talking in a
Mm,
previous talk. We got onto that
yeah,
sort of analogy or metaphoric Lazarus.
yeah. Such an event would really go deep into the
It would be another historic. Everything that's happening now is so historic. I wouldn't doubt it. It's not. I really wouldn't doubt it at all. And there's a picture that was going around. It really did look like him, but it could be aged enhanced technology. Who knows? I don't know. anything's possible these days. They have holograms that make you believe things. So
Well, yeah,
anything is
it would
possible.
be just like 1961 in reverse. It would be,
Right.
everyone will remember where they were when JFK Jr. revealed
Right.
himself with
That's
his wife
true.
and his child, because there was Carolyn Bissett was pregnant. Um,
Mm.
Here I write in a little Facebook box, he's risking everything he's got, including his own family, in order to stop whatever that might be. No
Well,
evidence.
his father knew about it. He spoke about it, and secret society is repugnant in a free and open society. End quote. He believes that. I mean, I actually know that speech practically, word for word. And he was talking to the press, ironically. Now, isn't that interesting, right? Well, what they've controlled then, they control now, but just now they have more solid control because it's completely centralized. Instead of having 100 publications and 50 different media companies, now there's 10 publications and 6 media companies. So, that's a real difference.
Right, and we'll maybe the first to admit that these people were no saints. Kennedy was having a lot of
Of course not.
extramarital affairs, and JFK Jr. flunked the bar exam a couple of times, and he was, he had some issues.
They were patriots. They were true patriots, and to the founding principles. As much as there's, I mean, today they would be considered conservatives. Actually, I mean, let's face it. Kennedy cut taxes and he raised revenue. And he was a Democrat. When was the last time you saw a Democrat do that?
Well, yeah, you could imagine how it must have felt to be John F. Kennedy Jr.
Your whole life, yeah.
Lose your father at such a young age and not know what to do with your life. I'm clicking a link here to Twitter. This is an interesting little video, very brief. It's some. Let's see if the sound is the sound coming across on this.
3.1 million entries.
Do you hear that?
I exported all that information into an Excel sheet, but I was cut off.
Do you hear
at
noise?
About 1 million rows, so keeping
Good.
on working with 1/3 of the whole data set.
You can
So
hear
the
this?
first thing I did was create a column to see if any ballots were mailed out by the government the same day that they were received, filled out through the mail by the voter. Turns out about 11,000 were filled out by the voter and returned back to the government the same day the government mailed them out to the voter.
Wow.
I then created a column to see if there were any applications that were approved by the government, mailed out by the government, received by the voter, and then filled out by the voter and mailed back to the government on the same day. And there were 8,205 cases of that. And lastly, I created a column to see if there are any ballots that were received through the mail, filled out before they were even mailed out by the government. There were 7,403 cases of that. Pause the screen to read each definition of the columns. If anyone's able to make sense of these numbers without saying it's fraud, please let me know in the comments.
I think he's talking about Nevada, and he was only able to load 1 million rows into Excel, and there were, I think, 3 and change in the data set. So he's finding discrepancies of 7,000 and 8,000 impossible votes for each different type of search. So mail-in ballots were being mailed out before they were received, like just impossible postmark problems. What this might turn out to be is that the whole COVID thing was just a ruse just to get the mail-in ballots.
I think that was exactly what it was. That makes perfect sense, actually.
You're a little muddled. I kind of hear you.
I said that's exactly what I think it is, and it makes
Right.
perfect sense.
So
That you have this entire New World Order operation set up specifically for the purpose of
right. So
of,
they game all the statistics, all the flu deaths, and all the pneumonia deaths. So a lot of these 200,000+ deaths were just skewed statistics, but the actual deaths, many of those were the Cuomo nursing home massacres that occurred. So people are going to be pissed if that turns out to be proven. Here I got a Babylon Bee parody headline. Butterball releases turkey with Biden-Harris logo, so you can just say your Thanksgiving gathering is a political protest.
Yeah, you're going to have to say you're protesting for Thanksgiving if there's more than let 10 people. It's just the most absurd thing in the world,
Here's one for you, Howie. The truth will set you free, except
Yeah.
on Facebook where it gets you a 30-day ban. And
I like that.
dementia my ass. I've always been this stupid. I think this is an older one. So I've been posting some memes. Uh, this guy is really, really cool. Let me I don't know if you're getting the sound over. I think you might be getting it through the microphone, not through the. But let me just
No,
show
I
you.
get the sound. I'm hearing it. I hear the sound.
Let me skip this forward on this guy.
Sure.
He's basically lives in Denver. He calls himself Thai Nightfall, but he also goes for Malachi Valden.
Malachi Walden.
He has a bunch of names, but this guy is literally the coolest individual alive. And he's a
right.
right-wing gay black man.
Cool.
crossdresser.
They exist. We
And
love everybody. That's the thing. That's the big lie. The big lie is that conservatives are racists
I'm
and
gonna try to make
homophobes.
this bigger somehow. on
It's
my-
such bullshit.
No, you got to hear this guy talk for a minute.
Let's do it, man. Put him on.
Let me.
Put him on.
He usually starts out. He's drinking beer, but then he starts talking,
Okay.
and it's just incredible. He just comes out.
I was gonna do the Nobody Cares mail, but it wasn't in the mood. And I've already done that recently. So I wanted to talk about, there's a lot of people who are understanding what services are and the downsides and benefits and flaws of services and learning that, they're dependent. They're learning what their dependency is and how to work around that and how to utilize it accordingly. So the reason why I wanted to do Nobody Cares mail instead of this is because this is mostly Q&A. So you want to do Q&A?
He talks about a lot of sovereign citizen stuff,
Mhm.
so he's pretty far advanced with that, considering.
It's a little low. Can you make it louder?
Distracted. But we're here. We're here.
Hold on a second.
But I'm just kind of watching.
That
I'm
sound
watching
better?
everybody have their little fights and, figure out who, people are still having their fights of who's better than who.
Let me do the share
Who's
screen.
falling for which traps. I love that you guys think that you're fighting other people fighting traps. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. Like those of you that really, really are gung-ho about attacking the Trump supporters are just hilarious to me. You're like the funniest people. You truthers specifically who are doing that. They're like, but the Trump supporters though, how can they like this man? You mean like all the dumb shit you like too? No, you don't care about the dumb shit you like. You're just mad about these new people that like dumb shit. That's so adorable. I love it. I really do. So cute. You're just so cute. You're just so much better than the Trump supporters, aren't you? You're so much better than people that believe in Q, aren't you? Aren't you so much better than them? I love it. The fun part about that is we don't care what you like. We don't care who you trust or what you believe or how upset you are that people won't dislike the thing that you don't like or like the thing that you don't like. You don't have any control, do you? You don't have any control and you're pissy about it online and it's funny. We think it's funny, by the way, so keep doing it. Keep lecturing people that like this man. Please keep doing it. I think it's really hilarious. Because it's really good to be doing a lot, but you seem to be gaining a lot by doing that. And it's most of you too. That's what's funny. If half of you had done this to Obama, Trump wouldn't be here in the first place. But we'll let that slide since we have your timeline and it's public and you weren't saying shit. But that was really cute. That was a really cute idea. Next time, try to attack the liberal establishment, which is harder, which is why you're not doing it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, pretty easy to attack Trump, isn't it? And his supporters. Pretty easy since everybody's doing it. Try attacking Obama, see how well that goes for you. You rebel you leader of the pack. Let me see how well you do with that. Let me know. Is that why you can still do live streams and post and shit, bitch? Because you're so against the mainstream? No, bitch, you're not even trying. If you're not banned in half of your platforms and you're not restricted, then you ain't doing shit. You're just mad at Trump supporters and Q. Go fuck yourself. Next. You're not even trying. You're not even trying, honey. So I appreciate your quaint nonsense. I really appreciate it. I really do. So sorry you think you're more impressive than you actually are. You know why? Because you're lonely. That's what it is. Sorry, you need attention. I get it. I needed it too. I get it. I totally understand. But you're not fooling people that also need attention. We're like, you just need attention, honey. So, hi Tom, how you doing? Tegan, Vonda, Emily, darling. Yes, good to see you. Just Q&A. Q&A. Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes on. He does a couple other zingers like that. Most of the time, though, he's drinking, smoking, just talking crap with his viewers and stuff. But I just thought you know, he could be really mind blowing. Uh,
What's your name? Put it back up. Turn it down, put it back up.
so I'm gonna turn him
Maybe
off,
that one, maybe half
and
hour.
I'm gonna stop the share.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, we'll go to
Wait,
7.
hold on a second. I gotta turn him off. Sorry about the technical difficulties. So I'll let you take it away, Howie, or whatever you got. Are you still there?
Right. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let me let me find you. You're somewhere.
Okay. So basically what we have right here is Trump, as I put in, we reported on this, we both did, and a whole bunch of stuff on there about what the evidence that we have about this entire coup. And the fact that this thing came from China, you know, the fact that uh, it was allowed to spread in America and across the world, the fact that all of the New World Order uh, mechanisms were put directly into place. Let's face it, it came from the World Health Organization down to all of the United Nations affiliates and all of that, which basically was all these countries. Only a couple of smart countries like Sweden and a few others, avoided all this chaos that has been created as a result of this fake pandemic. Certainly it is a deadly virus and it has certainly killed people, and there's no question about it. But the majority of people obviously survive it, well over 90%. And to think that this hoax has caused suicides to soar, there's no reporting, no rates on this, on the suicides, but I've looked into it. Suicide rates, if I had planned this, I would have actually had them at my fingertips, but I don't. But I'll put them together on an article like I always do. And the suicide rates, abuse rates, people being locked in abusive relationships, being basically imprisoned, this whole aspect of this, children being abused, molested, all of this happening is increased. All of the cases of this have increased as a result of this lockdown. People have also not gone to the doctor because they're afraid, because the media and the fear porn is so strong that people are just terrified. They're still terrified. You can see them wearing the masks in the store. And if you walk by them, because I don't wear a mask, and some of them have terror in their eyes. The actual word is terror, like you were a serial killer or something walking down the aisle, like you could threaten them. They've been that conditioned to this psyop. So we continue down the road to like the people that are supposed to get medical procedures that were put off. And then how many people actually died. These statistics are very hard to find because unfortunately, nobody really wants to find them. Nobody wants to report on them. They make it very difficult if you try to find out the statistics of actually, we know that probably it's somewhere along the lines of maybe 30,000 people have actually died of COVID, and the rest of these people had other other contributing factors to their deaths. But it goes on and on and on. They intentionally put people into nursing homes, when they had the resources and everything that was put to the task. And then the Democrats are saying that they didn't do anything. They built hospitals. They built ships. They brought ships to come over, and the ships weren't used. The hospitals weren't used, but they put all the COVID patients in the nursing homes and to basically cull the older population. And they can say all they want. He can scream back all he wants, and he could say, "I don't care what you think," because that's what Cuomo said, right? Didn't he say that? Let's talk about Cuomo a little bit. Let's make a little shift. What about Cuomo and his recent tyrannies against the people of New York? You're one of them.
Yeah, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I was born in Manhattan and New York County and raised in Queens. I now live in Ulster County, which is about 100 miles upstate from the city. And I didn't vote for Mario. I voted for his opponent in 2018, Marcus Molinaro, who was a Republican, but he's, we could do a whole segment on Marcus Molinaro. He's a perfect candidate. And who knows if there was a Dominion flip? That would be very interesting.
Well, once this gets out, they're gonna start checking into these elections and we're gonna find some serious problems.
What Howie is saying here is an understatement. Not Mario, I'm sorry. Andrew Cuomo is probably a bigger threat to
Mhm.
what our country stands for than anyone I could think of. We're worse than Pelosi, worse than Schumer. They're all pretty bad, right? I personally think AOC is secretly working for Trump, whether she knows it or not. But Andrew Cuomo is just, I'm just at a loss for words at how unsuitable he is for even mere citizenship at this point. From what he's, you can't lose your it'd be really hard to lose your citizenship, but hopefully, if all goes well, he'll be one of the top governors that get taken away in chains and irons and just thrown
I
into
think it's
some
coming. I think
dungeon.
really these days are coming.
This is just, yeah. I would have to sit all night. It would bring down my vibration just to think of the words to describe what a POS this guy is, and for people to think he's because he talks the sweet talk about social justice and stuff, while at the same,
Yeah, right, sure.
yeah,
They
with
all
one,
talk
with
about
one
that.
hand, while the other hand he's like, you know turning your whole world into a living hell. He's
Exactly.
right. These people should not. They're dynasties. They shouldn't run for office. His only qualification for ever getting into the public sector was his father was a governor. That's it. And look at his brother, Fredo,
True.
for just a picture of what these people are like. They just oh, Marcus Molinaro, on the other hand, who I know personally, just working as a reporter. This guy was the youngest mayor in American history. He became the mayor of the village of Tivoli in Dutchess County, New York, at the age of 18. And actually, he became a trustee, and then he became mayor at 18 or 19 or something like that. He was a state assemblyman. He was the youngest county executive in Dutchess County history, and he ran for governor. He basically watched this man grow up as a boy. He has no secrets. He has nothing to hide. There are no scandals in his life. He's literally the perfect political candidate to run for governor of New York. He's actually very liberal for a Republican, almost indistinguishable from Democrat county executives, and just immensely qualified. I mean, he could literally be president, but usually America wants a Germanic president, not an Italian president. Unfortunately, we've never had an Italian president. The
Not
but
yet.
he is so much more qualified than Governor Cuomo. Uh, just
Almost just a political
keep your
hack.
eye on Marcus Molinaro, America's golden boy. From sea deciding to sea, you will never find a more qualified and charmed lifelong political career. I mean, this guy is golden, and he's a good talker. He's got great policies. There's nothing under any rocks there. He's just actually a great, a great leader.
Yeah. We don't have any of those in Connecticut. We have a couple of D's. Well, actually, Bob Stefanowski lost. He ran for governor, and he lost. I think he's going to win next time because he's still present. He keeps himself present in the media, on talk radio at least. No one will put him on TV, but he has a lot of support here in Connecticut, and I think the people of Connecticut are finally sick and tired of it. I mean, it's just like New York. I mean, it's the same. Look, let's be real. When this whole thing started, the 2-week lockdown to flatten the curve, remember that? When that bullshit started, I'll never forget it. Ned Lamont, our governor, said, "We're going to see what the experts say, and we're going to follow, what they say." And I said, "Why are you governor? You wait and follow what they say? Listen to what they say, maybe take some advice for what they say." But no, as soon as Cuomo decided, we're going to follow suit. And then every single Democrat followed the exact same protocols in 5 cities that caused the death of probably 50, 60,000, maybe more seniors. I don't know how many. huge amount of seniors.
Yeah, I find it fascinating how these New England states, especially the tri-state region of New York,
All the same. They
they're
vote the
so
same.
close together. But
Mhm.
a New Yorker would be hard pressed to name the Connecticut governor, let alone any mayors of cities. We don't know who the mayor of New Haven is, or the mayor of Hartford, or the mayor of let's say Torrington.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, that makes in a way that makes sense.
Very close. I mean, literally, it's just as far to get to you as it to get down to the city. Same
It
with
is.
Massachusetts. I don't know who the governor of Massachusetts is, about
But
offhand.
these people are planning things like, these tolls, and they're trying to make deals with other states. They're collectivizing. They're trying before the COVID. They were shot down. They were trying to get tolls all across Connecticut, like tolls. Just I mean, like ridiculous, because they're so hard up for money. Now all of a sudden, oh, the money doesn't matter. Shut down the world. Break down all the businesses. There's no tax revenue. Then what are they going to do? Put in tolls? Nobody has any jobs. So they're hiding the fact that these states, Connecticut and Michigan, all of these so-called, interestingly enough, these Democrat states, many of them, especially California and others, are going to literally implode. And that's why they needed to win so they could all bail themselves out. But we're not going to bail these people out. They're literally going to implode. This state is in terrible shape financially. They keep talking about their rainy day, $3 billion rainy day fund. Give me a break, $3 billion rainy day fund. They didn't have, none of these states had any of this stuff that they needed to deal with this thing, and they blame the federal government after having to ask the federal government for help. That's basically what they've done, because they're a bunch of corrupt criminals, and all they do are crony capitalists. They get these sweetheart deals with everyone. They're all connected. It's all working for the same purpose of deindustrializing America and getting rich off of doing it, taking away our sovereignty directly to foreign entities of communist countries such as Venezuela and China. And it's on record, and they're caught. So now what do we do with these traitors and these treasonous fellowship of hate and evil? What do we do with these people?
It's interesting you mentioned the tolls, because just I think this week or last week, the New York State Thruway switched over to Easy Pass only. There are no toll collectors up and down this major.
Yeah, then you get a toll. If you don't have Easy Pass, they send you a bill in the mail, and if you don't pay it, they triple it, and it's ridiculous. It happened to me once. It's unbelievable. It's more tyranny. It's even worse if you don't have an Easy Pass.
Yeah, I bit the bullet and got the Easy Pass finally a couple of years ago.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? You got to do it. It makes sense if you're driving a lot.
I'm not driving a lot, but I have it on my dashboard, and it tracks you.
Yeah.
Funny thing
It does.
is,
Oh yeah, it's another form of tracking you and your movements. This is like Big Brother is so
it uses
omnipresent. We could do a whole show on it.
microwave transponder. It's funny. There's a gag product called the fart machine that operates on the same frequency. So if you're playing around with this remote controlled fart machine, and you drive around, it'll start farting in weird places where the Easy Pass monitoring you. So you'll be in traffic, like on a local road, and thing will go off. It'll make farting sounds, and you'll look and you'll see a little box on the side of the road. They do it for traffic studies, but they're tracking everyone, like not just on the highway, but all over the place, all over. And the other funny thing about Easy Pass is that, do you know who they are? Who is Easy Pass? Because
good question. I actually never looked into it, but I'm sure it's connected to one of these multinational companies.
I once went on a wild goose chase. I was working with a local railroad who needed to sue Easy Pass. We were trying to serve them with papers. We wound up at some Air Force base up in Rotterdam, and we got there, and they're like, "Nope, they're not here." We went on this whole, like, all around the country trying to track these guys down. It turns out, in the end, it was like MFS Network Technologies, and then it was Able Telecom Holding Company. There was Roswell, Georgia. There's all kinds of weird places. Finally, it's JP Morgan Chase.
There
That's
you go.
what Easy Pass is, and you find them by looking up the domain.
Always ends up being the bankers.
Domain name. They own. It's a domain name. It's an internet domain. E-Z pass. They collect the tolls on the honor system for just dozens of states. It's gazillions of dollars, and the only way these states know how much they collect is based on JP Morgan Chase telling them how many. I mean, you have no idea.
It is such, the corruption is so off the charts, man. We are so raped and pillaged. We would all be prosperous. There would be no poverty. Everybody would be living in harmony. But these motherfuckers have to consolidate the world and bring us all into the totalitarian socialism so that they can rule over us and tell us how to live, how much water in our toilets, what size light bulbs we can use, what type of light bulbs we can use. You know, how much we can't, fine you for collecting rainwater. Oh my God, fine you for not connecting to the electric or to water. They fine you for living off the grid. It's just unbelievable. Everything is just illegal, and we have to stop it. And we have to. It's a movement to just be free again. This country, everyone's raping us. It's funny. Trump talked about getting rid of the middlemen in the pharmaceutical thing, and he's right. And that's the new world order. So he actually crunched them again. No wonder they hate him so much even more now. But the truth is that same middleman exists everywhere. And that middleman is what's keeping us down. And that middleman is the New World Order. And they've been designed to do this. They do it through taxation, through regulations. As we see, you remove the taxes, remove the regulations, boom, everybody starts making money. So hopefully the people will start waking up to this reality and not be mind controlled. Hey, I'll put the same background. I like the idea of, we'll put the concept of the eye. Yeah, I'll put my eye up there too. So then, I gotta go. That's right. It's reversed. I keep forgetting. I should go.
Okay, some of them you want to get the backgrounds that have like a peripheral, and so you can stay in the center.
No, that's true. I have to look through this is just the first time we're trying it. I like it though. I mean, it's very cool. We can use this. What I really like is I like to show these criminals. Let's talk about these here. Look at that. Look at that. Those criminals have to be. So there we have, right there is Anthony Fauci, right there. And right next to Anthony Fauci is who? That's George Soros. Are you kidding me? And Tom Brokaw. And Barbara Walters. And all these media people.
Yeah. Your audio is dropping out when you go over to the side.
Oh yeah. So what you got over here, what you got over here is you got Anthony Fauci, and next to Fauci is Tom Brokaw and George Soros. Then you got Barbara Walters. You got these are all Brooke Astor, these are all the Astor family. These are all elitists. And then next to it, these are elitists. And next to those witches at the bottom is Queen Beatrice of the Netherlands. Now this was from 2001. Interestingly enough, so they have been planning these type of little, I guess you would call them events, for a long time. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which everyone can get at howardnema.com, goes into it. It was a plan, a biological warfare against and a psychological psy war against the American people. There's another document you can read called Mind War by Colonel Anthony Aquino, which goes into this and how they're going to manipulate us. And then in 2013, we cannot forget that Obama added to the National Defense Authorization, and I also have links to this, you can read it for yourself, legalizing, propagandizing the American people and reversing a ordinance that was in place since 1948 so that they can propagandize the American people and make it legal. And then what did we see since 2013? Absolute fake news, insanity, craziness, lunacy, and it's all basically legal.
Yeah, the false flags, starting with Sandy Hook, or actually probably going back to Columbine, but Sandy Hook in particular, there were a lot of very strange anomalies in how that all went down. And if I have this, I would have to go dig it up, but there's a side-by-side comparison of Adam Lanza, the alleged Sandy Hook shooter, side by side with David Hogg. And it's got the whole grid showing the difference between the whole facial recognition grid showing that it's the same face, that David Hogg, the Parkland truant who capitalized on that massacre, alleged massacre, and then Adam Lanza appear to be the same person.
Really?
Remember, because there was always, it was like Adam Lanza had his brother's ID with him. He had a different driver's license, and then you never heard about the brother anymore. Uh, and the father was kind of shadowy. But there was also a discrepancy about what house they lived in, whether it was the house they said it was or the house next door. The house he supposedly lived in got torn down, I think, as well as the elementary school. And Newtown, Connecticut, among many, many other things, is, the fictional location of Stepford, Connecticut. The Stepford Wives with mind control.
Well, it
takes
goes
If you
right.
if you follow the story, it takes place physically in Newtown. That's where the location is, but they call it Stepford, and it's near the corner of New York, like kind of Kent.
It's right now. It's right by
Something
Danbury.
going on there, like magnetic anomalies. Something it seems to be really big and hidden around there. Like your GPS will go haywire. I've been
Could be. There's also a satanic church. You can even look it up. Google it. It's right there. Satanic Church of Connecticut is located in Newtown.
right.
In
And
fact, it's right behind where the school was, about less than a mile or a mile and a half or something like that.
and the Church of Satan, the old Anton LaVey's successor,
Yes,
is in Poughkeepsie, New York.
that's right.
And there's a cave under the house.
Of course, there has to be a cave.
Most people in Poughkeepsie don't know that there's a big underwater cave under, like, basically the high school and that.
Yeah, the rabbit hole goes deep down the cave, and there's a lot of caves seem to be involved with this a lot. That kind of a thing, caverns. Also, of course, the need for tunnels, the need to secretly move around for various reasons, for rituals and things like that, and
Right.
horrific things that happen.
So up here in Kingston, I suspect an underground facility near Exit 19.
Yeah, there
And,
probably is. I mean, we talked about that several times. We've got off the subject since the election with this whole thing, but yeah, we're still it's all connected to it. These people are also, like, as we know, the satanic pedophile ring is being taken down piece by piece. We've seen it happen right in mainstream media, little by little. These, Giselle Maxwell, and then there has been a bit of a silent quell since the election on it, but that doesn't mean that these arrests and all these other things aren't happening.
I've been in contact with some of the Republicans and the right wingers up around Kingston.
Right.
It's funny because I'm a Green Party state committeeman, but we all support Trump. And they're starting to ask me, because they know I'm a conspiracy theorist, about Dominion and the various stuff, software, backdoors and loopholes, and whether that was going on in Kingston. So we're discussing anomalies that happen in local elections. And I started telling them, like, listen, look at your board of elections. Because there was a big DA race last year that went into overtime, and it was down to a couple less than 100 votes. And I said, well, that BOE office used to be the DA's office, didn't it?
Yeah, this could really be like.
I bet you they never changed the locks. I said, is there a basement? Is there a back door to that place? Of course there is. There's a basement. All you need is access to the internet wires going into it. You don't even have to go inside.
This could expose such massive, widespread election fraud that we all know has been going on for years and years and years. I mean, for decades.
Right.
Like I said,
if it happens, if it gets busted open here, it's
going
rest
to
of the
be a
world.
domino effect. Yeah.
The whole planet is going to have to redo their elections, because if it happens here, it's happening in Ukraine and Venezuela.
Every day.
Germany.
All those countries. Yeah, all those, especially the totalitarian countries or the more authoritarian ones. They just forget. That's why this whole thing was produced. This software was produced for Hugo Chavez to fix elections. That was what it was for. So that that's how this whole thing started, when they created the company to create the software. That's the origins of it.
If you go on Roseanne Barr's YouTube channel today, I think, or last night, and also Robert David Steele, they did a video with Roseanne Barr, Robert David Steele, and Cynthia McKinney. They were talking about a bunch of stuff, but basically the elections. Because Cynthia McKinney she was the Green Party presidential candidate in 2012, but also a
She was a
four-term
congresswoman. Yeah.
Georgia congresswoman who suffered vote rigging back then, and that's how
Yeah.
she got taken out of office through what used to be Diebold.
Because she was for real and she was going after the criminals. She was going after the Federal Reserve. She was going after the IRS. She was putting the
Here
two.
you have another Green Party candidate, a presidential candidate who's now supporting Trump. So
Mhm.
this is crossover on the back end of the Overton window.
Mhm.
It's
Sure
just an
is.
interesting thing. I would suggest, Roseanne Barr posts a lot of wacky stuff, but you should definitely subscribe to her YouTube channel and follow her. She's an SRA survivor.
Yeah, that's right. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Hey, speaking of that, how's our good friend doing? I haven't. We should have to get back to some of those talks again. We were I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think she's a real nice girl. She's laying low until the
She doesn't know what's going on. She's
decided, right?
Yeah,
Same thing that
yeah,
happened with Kathy O'Brien. Remember back in 2016, she kind of laid
yeah.
low because her life was in danger of being such a big whistleblower. I sent Amy a message, but she didn't respond tonight.
Okay. All
And
right. It is what
she
it
said
is.
hello
We'll have.
yesterday.
I
I got a
she's still
friend.
posting. She's still.
Yeah,
I read her posts.
I had a friend down in Australia, and it's really hard to get these SRA survivors to trust a stranger enough to friend you on Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest, what I do is, as an SRA researcher, is there's not much I understand about the coping mechanisms that they use for their trauma, but they're very useful if you're on like Facebook, a friend with a well-known SRA survivor. That's how you find other pedogate researchers. You look at the friends in common, and you'll find the other pedogate researchers, and then you can connect with them through these, survivors. Uh,
Mhm.
they are usually just spending the rest of their lives coping with what happened to them. So this woman in Australia, she's not Fiona. I'm not friends with Fiona, but another one um, out of Adelaide. I didn't realize. I watched some interviews after the fact, and just the stuff that happened to her was so mind-bogglingly awful.
I know it's people can't really wrap their brain around it. It's like it's a subject of its own. It's like it's a whole nother aspect of this evil, and it's sort of a regenerative thing. This is a generational thing, just like this order that's finally at the point where they're finally saying we're going for it and we're just going to take over the world and you're going to do it or else. Pretty much that's what it sounds like is coming down the pike here. And
There's a lot of
that's the kind of resistance we're going to get.
they're easily triggered, especially if you try to like poke into their past and get them to repeat what happened to them. So I like
Yeah.
to just talk to them as regular people who have a common subject area of expertise, just about current events, and just treat them like.
But
people.
I find it fascinating, Rob, that they're all from all walks of society. They're not just from one class of people. You have from all socioeconomic classes. These people have been put into this matrix of evil. Some of them, becoming literal slaves. Others becoming, you know, God knows what. I mean, from assassins to, information gatherers. They can literally recall text, books. Yeah, what?
Actresses and stuff.
Actresses, of course, Hollywood, of course, actresses, and that's the insidious thing about it. And it's so hard for people to believe. But now, as we see everything unfolding, I find it hard for people not to believe it. That not to see that. Are you kidding me? Look what's going on in the world, and what are you just sitting by? You're just not paying attention. It's like it's out in the open. It's pretty obvious what is exactly going on here. How people cannot understand it, I don't get it. Especially with the moving towards this whole evil. I mean, the Biden's, let's be real. Biden's text number is 2020 divided by 666. I mean, that doesn't happen by accident.
So I found, that the most helpful thing I could offer an SRA survivor who opens up enough, trust me enough to even associate on social media. They don't really know me in real life usually. It's just to, you know, tell them you believe their story. Then tell them, yeah, your story's real, and I know it's real because I personally know other people who tell the same story. I've
I
been
know many
researching-
people,
I've been
many people.
researching this longer than some of these
Yeah.
girls have been alive, and there are men, and the stories all line up all around the world. So that's what they need most of all, is just to have non
Reassurance.
non
Yeah.
SRA survivors just acknowledge that they're not crazy, that they're not gaslighting them or doubting them. That's the most important thing you can, as a normal person, offer them. And I really don't have any of the slightest clue of how you can get somebody through that trauma, and you can't. They're damaged for life.
Of course.
Much you can't. How could you ever get beyond it? You can't. You just have to cope with it every day. And these people, that they have partners who they can't even touch. They can't. They can't be touched because they're so traumatized from what done to them as a child from birth. They can't even be intimate. But
I know it's really, really horrible.
so when you come to like in my story, like I had a coworker who was, a very attractive redhead, years and years ago, like 30 years ago or so, maybe just about 30 years ago. And one day she just told me this at a party. She just, she was sitting there kind of like crying. I asked her, what's the matter? And she just told me this story. And I was just completely shocked. I didn't know what to say. I said, well, call the cops. She's like, you can't call the cops. There's nothing you can do. That's the one thing she told me that I didn't believe, was that I never believed, was that there's nothing you can do. They have judges and politicians in the cult and news media. But there is something you can do. And now the QAnon thing, I don't care if people call me crazy. I know it's true.
Well, that's the thing. Like you have to have a lion's heart, man, and courage. Because the fact is that the only reason we're doing this in the very first place, the only reason, is because we know it's true, and because most people don't. And I mean, most people don't. However, in the last 5 years, man, I don't know, people are waking up, like, and I think that really, like I keep saying that, I think it accelerated this entire process of the takeover, of the coup.
Right. But if you ferret this back even further, right? Why did this woman tell me this? Why did she didn't seem to be like something she talked about much. She seemed like a very normal person. That's why I believed her, because I had hung out with her a lot, and she would have no reason to make a story like that up. But why did she tell me? Yeah, actually, I think it was the last time I ever saw her. I never saw her again. She just kind of disappeared.
So she was just a coworker. She was just a friend.
Well,
I mean,
was at a party.
she
We were hanging
obviously
out.
trusted you enough. She obviously trusted you enough to tell you. So
Well,
she must have known you for a good period of time.
I think everyone who gets into this subject, they're confronted at some point with the information comes to them. Not like you walking around looking for this stuff. It comes to you, and that's something I learned in the adoption search, was that the information and knowledge is not sought out. It is seeking you out. A secret seeks out a mind to plant it. It goes in the opposite direction. That you're just the egg, and the information and knowledge is looking for a place to fertilize itself. And so you don't have much choice in the matter. It just comes to you. And
Right.
then when you're confronted with it, you're faced with two paths. You could disbelieve or ignore, or you can accept it and say, well, if that's true, it opens up this giant can of worms, right? You say, well, where are these people and how do I catch them? How do I stop them? If it's true, who else is being victimized? The children being held in dungeons in my town somewhere. How can I
They're everywhere.
get them
As we've
out?
said, yeah, as I said, they're everywhere. They are everywhere. You can't, they're among us, It's like those horror movies, they walk among us. It's really true.
Right. So you look at the Avicii video. Uh, Maybe the viewers don't understand what I'm talking about, but there was a musician who was murdered in the country of Oman, who made a video. Basically, it was like a child. It was just a song, but the video that went with the song was a child trafficking revenge video. So there were these Antifa type rebels who were going tracking down the child traffickers and extrajudicially getting revenge on them, but hanging them and branding them on the
Right.
skin. And that's not really how it would go down in real life. It would go down with the military. The whole Q phenomena, and we think it's Ezra Cohn, Watnick now, is the guy behind the team leader of this thing, is that there are white hats, that we know there's a total information awareness, there's a worldwide system of surveillance. And in that system are white hats. There are people who believe in the ideals of the United States Constitution a little bit beyond our rudimentary schoolhouse rock idea of the Bill of Rights. It's and they come up with a plan. They know it's real too, but they have to do it by the book. And we don't know how many there are, but they're there. QAnon is
Right.
proof, and it's very, very detailed plan to stop this. And it's all or nothing. And the fact is, the enemy doesn't know how many there are either. It turns out the estimate right now is that there are 35 million Q-tards worldwide. So there's an army of 35 million Pepe the Frog autistic hacker types who will look at every little bit of information from every possible angle and find autistically these connections, right? Because that's when they're just victims of pharmaceutical drugs, their brains were rewired, but they could find these patterns. And
Right.
when they're networked over the internet and work together, on Twitter, I started doing these trains with the Qtard community. I have a couple hundred followers now, and they're all like on the same page. I finally have people interacting with me on social media as opposed to my friends and relatives growing up. They just don't understand it, but these people do. And you can talk and you share ideas. There's a community. But 35 million is way more than a critical mass. In the United States, there's at least 3 million of them. There's many millions of people who are on board with this movement, you can call. It's not dangerous. It's not harmful. They're basically just, they believe in the Constitution. They believe in Judeo-Christian values. They believe in human rights and good versus evil. They're not hurting anyone. They're not burning anything.
No, they're certainly not violent, but it's basically the Patriot movement. It's the people that understand what's going on. There are a lot of people understand what's going on, whether they want to call it, you can call it what you like. It's the New World Order. You can call it what you like. It's the forces behind this are working for this whole New World Order. And right now, you can say that it's the communists. They're using the communists because they work with these different groups to achieve their ends. They've always done this throughout history. It's nothing new. And now they're using the communists again and Antifa-like groups, so you have this like sort of mixture of communists and anarchists. And it's exactly the same thing that happened in 17. And in this country, in around 16, they were trying to do it here, but there was just people were really like what we would call awake back then. They knew what our country stood for, and they knew that about our, it was people really were educated about their rights. And that is when, the Rockefellers who started putting money into us because we don't want a nation of workers, of thinkers, we want a nation of workers. started funding education. And by funding education, he slowly over generations dumbed down it to the point where these kids they're going to college and they have to take remedial classes and pay for math or like English. I mean, or they can't spell, they can't, it's just really sad. And that's what they've done. They've brainwashed society socially to all of these euphoric things. It's almost like they're tweaking the pleasure sensors of the mind and just eliminating the intellect, making people dumb so they can be deceived. It's so wicked, dude. It's so wicked. And you can see it. They talk about it. Wasn't it WikiLeaks that came out in 2015 where Clinton emails, they said, we got to keep the Democrats dumbed down and stupid. You remember the exact line?
That was an alleged Hillary quote.
Yeah, Hillary quote. We got to keep them dumbed down and stupid. Like they also come after us and put us in nooses. She's going to get a noose one day. I don't see how she can escape it. I really don't.
Well, getting back to my original thought with this Q movement, an interesting aspect of it, I think, is the idea that 35 million worldwide. So a lot of these people are from other countries, and the Q-tards call them patriots. So you can be from, say, Romania or France and be considered a patriot, but you're still a good guy, even though you're not an American. And they support Trump. They support what he's doing, because any country, if you love your country, you're a patriot, and things should be controlled locally. But I believe in the same ideals. The purpose of government is to protect things enshrined in the Bill of Rights, basic stuff, justice, freedom, speech, freedom of thought, freedom of conscience, and anything that would go against the, the Greens call it the 10 key values. They're a little muddy, but the Bill of Rights, the 10 key values, the 10 commandments. I guess they like the number 10 because you can count them on your fingers and stuff, but it could be more. I was thinking of writing something called the other 10 key values. But the Green Party in New York has abandoned its 10 key values, which was what you would consider green. The definition of green was this national consensus of values, and they turned it into the 4 cardinal points, and they've eliminated nonviolence. So they have something called peace, which is unconstitutionally vague, in my opinion, rather than nonviolence.
Yeah, well, I think
so. They're supporting BLM.
Again, that's my point. All of these groups, and I've talked about this for years, Green Party included, this entire environmental movement was a Rockefeller ploy, was a controlled opposition ploy. They are actually, by controlling the opposition and the money, and they fund tons of money. And then it always is like, if there are any restrictions, the restrictions go to other companies and other people, and it doesn't ever affect these people. And they've been doing this in all the industries, and that's how they've managed to get such such a market share of everything, including, look at Amazon. You think Amazon just became Amazon because Jeff Bezos is some genius? That's the same thing when I laugh when they say they think Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. It's ridiculous. It's a joke to even think that. It just shows you how little people know about real wealth in this country. In the world, because the trillionaires.
With the Green Party, the funny thing was that whenever anyone was being, back in the day, whenever anyone was being a Stalinist or a general asshole, you could say that's against 10 key values, and you'd point out which one they're violating. Because every time someone was stepping on you, you could find one of the 10 key values and say that's why you're not supposed to be doing that in the Green Party. And usually they don't even know the 10 key values, and then you say, "Oh, you don't even know the 10 key values? You're not even green then." And
yeah, because they've moved away from that. It's all become leftist. It's all become this leftist causes. It's all become, it goes with the environmentalism. All this connection. Yeah.
There's nothing in the American consensus 10 key values that says anything about socialism, right?
Of course not.
And in environmentalism, right, you need to have conservatives in the Green Party to bring science back to the environmental argument.
Yeah, but conservatism, as far as environmental conservatism, it's not. See, that's the difference between being a good steward of the environment and rather than being, basically a Nazi of the environment, like the ultimate tree huggers and these crazy people that are just off the rails. That whole fringe gets amplified by this movement because it's really designed to deindustrialize. Because the more you take heed to these, it's about limits to growth. Like again, the Club of Rome, these books you can get, howardema.com, goes into this. They want to deindustrialize. So the Green Party is a perfect example of an organization with great intentions and wanted to do the right thing, that was doing the right thing. Maybe be like Theodore Roosevelt, be a steward to the economy. That's what he's the one that gave us all the land and protected our resources, and he understood that. But that's way different than radical than using the environment as a pretext for communism, which is what it is, and the Agenda 21 and all
Get
this
like
grew
a
out of it.
shaman type person to shake a stick at people and say,
Yeah, like
science,
hey,
science.
move back so we could see what's her name. She's right behind you.
Greta.
Pocahontas.
Oh yeah.
There she is.
So you could say science and you shake a stick. Science. The Green Party.
Science.
The Green Party used to have some kind of sergeant in arms position. I don't think it's there anymore. Called the Vibes Watcher, right? And it's never defined what the Vibes Watcher would do. But whenever things got too heated, they would call Vibes, and this person would actually go out into the middle of the floor and wiggle their fingers and say vibes, vibes. Right? It's like.
Oh my God.
So we used to kid around a lot. There was a hothead faction who used to play pranks on the assemblies. That's not, when people take themselves too seriously in any environment, you have to have a little bit of levity. And
yeah, you got it. You definitely have to. So we're like tying, we touched on a lot of things, but we started talking about the things with the election, the obvious big developments, and then we got into this Q thing and the sex trafficking and all the other things that have been going on that really haven't been getting a lot of light recently because of all the election fraud and all this chaos. So I'm thinking, is this going to be like a coordinated, like an end game? Like the end game of this is going to be, it's going to be a combination of judicial and criminal, as far as like people being, indicted and arrested and things of that nature. How do you think that's going to play out? You think they're going to lock the people up, as they, they're going to obviously put indictments. You think they're going to be just lock these people up, before, say, the election, the inauguration? I mean, what do you think they're going to do?
well,
because I mean, they have them dead to rights. There's really, and it's going to end up. I mean, one of these things goes till February. How does that happen? One of these.
It gets complicated if it goes past the January 20th inauguration date. Clearly,
what happens then?
Depends what happens in the House and the Senate races.
Mm-hmm.
Even if all things stand the way they were called, Pelosi might have a problem getting reelected to the speaker position. But that's just small potatoes part of it. Clearly there's going to be some military type tribunals. Clearly
that's
there's
what I'm
a
thinking.
notice component, and they know what's coming down the pike. They're not surprised at it. They seem to be informed about this well in advance. Trump's been calling it out.
I think Pompeo made that very clear when he was in that little speech,
Trump's been calling out the play-by-plays for like 6 months to a year, so he knew what was going to happen. It's been clear to everyone what was going to happen with the ballots. And Trump said, don't do that with the mail-in ballots. You can't just dump 70 million mail-in ballots on an election at the last minute. It's going to cause problems, and you can't, like in property zoning, you can't get a variance if you created the problem. That's not, you're not entitled to a variance if you created the problem that requires the variance. It's the same thing here with elections. It's never happened before, but
Nothing this
It's up
year.
to SCOTUS.
This year, how many things that never happened before? So this is just
I'm
perfect year
just saying,
for it.
it's never happened before where you had a situation where someone might have to forfeit the election because they cheated, right? But that's
Oh, yeah.
in any contest. If you cheat, you forfeit. If you're in the
Well,
Olympics
that's
and they
yeah.
catch you with steroids, you're out, right? It's never happened in an American presidential election, but that's one of the things that falls in the lap of the Supreme Court. They would
Mhm.
have to decide the constitutionality and the trust and proper. That's what they're there for you know, that's why you have a Supreme Court to decide things that haven't come up yet and to interpret
Right.
the best they can, you know, without packing the court, just with the 9 people, the best qualified jurists you could find in your nation, give or take, with you know, balanced power approval of both houses and the executive branch. And this is, you know, might not be perfect, but it's pretty clear if you can prove, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Trump
I'm. Oh, yeah.
has it in the bag that he can prove this, then they forfeit. All right. But if the DNC knowingly did this, and that's pretty clear too, they forfeit their right to be a party. They're
That's
an
what I'm
enemy,
thinking. I think this could
they're
be the
an
demise
enemy,
of the Democrat Party.
they're an enemy of the United States. And if there's
Yeah.
foreign people
Yeah.
involved, which there is with the
There's
Frankfurt
going to be
raid,
hangings. This is big time.
those Frankfurt raids got confirmed by multiple sources over the past few days. So
Dude, I tell you, man, I swear to God, it would be like, you
that
know,
Frankfurt raid happened.
oh, I
Okay.
know it happened.
And
Yeah,
those
they get the
servers,
servers. Yeah.
you know, and the Kraken, what Sidney Powell is talking about, appears to be counter malware put in by the White Hats to, in real time, monitor the changes being made to these data sets moving around the internet
Right.
and writing them to a blockchain ledger, which, you know, as we all know, a blockchain ledger cannot be erased. It's just too many nodes. So it's redundant by thousands or tens of thousands of servers. So that ledger is just written in indelible ink. It's chiseled in stone for everyone to see for the rest of the history. It doesn't matter 1,000 years from now. They're just going to say this was the year when the best and brightest, the most freedom-loving country in the world caught the cheaters of election, and there'll never be a hopefully another a gamed election ever again anywhere, not just on this planet,
That's an absolute.
right? And it's this is MAGA. This is what Donald Trump stands for. It's like, why can't you count to 300 million in less than 2 weeks? My a really lousy laptop computer with 300 megahertz, 300 cycles, 300 million cycles per second. So a cheap throwaway laptop that you find at the dump is capable of counting to 300 million in 1 second. And you're telling me the United States of America, with all its technical know-how and resources, can't count votes to like whatever 80, 150 million? It takes them weeks. Oh, it doesn't. You know, they're all playing games. You know, everything that they did is, you know, and I think the other side knows this too. They're just trying to drag
They're
it.
done. They must. I mean, I'm surprised these people haven't left the country.
They're
They're
trying
gonna.
to gaslight their base and then tear the country down. They figured if they can't control it, they're going to tear it down.
They're not going to do either because we'll shoot them. Minute there's civil unrest, that's it. My gun comes out. Minute these people start running, this Antifa starts cutting. It's all open season. I swear to God. If I see anybody running down my neighborhood trying to like burn shit, forget it. Because they're going to come into the places like us. They're not going to do the cities anymore. That's their strategy. Their strategy is to come to, you know, to the suburbs and places like that. And they're going to find some stiff resistance. And, you know, it's insane. And these people really don't care. They'll sacrifice, and they're just the useful idiots. They're misguided souls, you know, perverted by demonic spirits.
Everything you're talking about has been taken into account.
I'm sure it has. I'm sure there'll be a swift response. That's why we have all these military people in the States waiting, you know, about 20,000 troops, I believe, if that's correct.
Probably the last thing they're going to do is the dark hats, the bad guys, are going to take down the communication networks
Yeah, they're gonna try.
so that we can't hear what happened. But all the Q-tards have already been, living that, so they know ways to get around it. So the
Mhm.
Q-tards are going to be the 1,000 points of light or the 35 million points of light.
I think what's gonna happen is, I think that it would make sense if I was doing this, and I'm certainly not, Donald Trump and his thoughts on this, and he's been like, playing fourth dimensional chess with these people, that would be exactly what I would do. Before I did anything, I would get, cease and, or whatever they would do, cease and desist and all this from all of these internet companies and all of these tech companies, and have them seized by the federal government so that that wouldn't happen, and then keep everything running until this litigation can be resolved. And that might be something they're planning to do, because
Well,
it make
they're
until they
telling
make
us
their
they're telling us that they got these vaccines ready to go.
yeah.
There's
Uh,
probably all kinds of stuff ready to go, all food rations, whatever they might throw at us, it's ready to go. They got food supplies, water supplies,
mhm.
right? That they're not set up for vaccines. They're set up for everything. There's going to be,
Right.
if they take out the power to the Northeast,
I know he knows
military
exactly right. Yeah,
military is going to come in like lightning and set up these temporary power stations, and
I know.
they have all kinds of linesmen. They got, I'm sure they've been hardening the power grid.
I'm sure they've been planning this since January.
It's not hard to harden our power grid against pulses. It's really,
That's
you
true.
have to just harden up these just certain connection points. And if you do that ahead of time, it's resilient, even if it's above ground.
It's probably been done.
Plenty of food, but at the same time, everywhere you have a sanctuary city, you have a weapons cache with a fifth column. So Antifa is not the fifth column, and BLM is not the fifth column. Those are black. The fifth column are military people who snuck into our country, and there's weapons caches, right? Kingston, New York, I believe, is one of them because it's a choke point. That's why it was the first capital in New York. You cannot get up and down from New York City to Albany without passing through Kingston at the midpoint. All the trains, all the highways go through this narrow area, this valley, and that's why you'll see it's a sanctuary city. It's a strategic spot, and everywhere you have a Democrat libtard sanctuary city, you're gonna see warehouses full of weapons and a population of foreigners who are there, to fight to take down your country. Not
Pretty
all.
horrible thought. But I mean, it obviously makes sense. It would be the next phase of this takeover. It would be their plan B,
No, I think it's the plan A. It always was. You
Yeah.
even have predictive programming for it. There's all kinds of movies, like
That's
Red
true.
Dawn. I actually just deleted a video. It was hard to get. Called Amerigeddon. Did you ever see? I might still have
No.
Amerigeddon. It's it's a corny little movie, something like you would produce. It's right up your alley too. Uh, it's about basically like a Red Dawn scenario, and then there's a couple of patriots up in Texas, like your buddy Harry, who it's all prepared. He's like, don't worry, we got our food, we got our weapons. We're gonna
Right.
take out the bad guys. We got a helicopter. We're gonna get our daughter out of college, steal her away from the dormitory, get her away from the libtards. So this is just it's I think, I mean, ultimately, as an individual, you should be like Harry. You should probably have some self-defense and some supplies. Everyone should. Medicine,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
A plan. If you have a family, a place to regroup and stuff. Most of us don't. So,
It's gonna be ultimate chaos.
there's,
Ultimate chaos.
I think, in the end, it'll be all right. It might be a little
Me
scary
too.
at some point. And,
Yeah. But it's nothing that we can't handle, really. I mean, like I said, I mean, if these people start going wild, whatever you're gonna do, it's gonna take approximately 24 hours to activate. So you have to have at least 24 hours or 16 hours, to protect yourself before, like, the National Guard comes in or whatever is going to happen. Because when they lock these people up, the animals are going to go wild.
Well, that's all been pre pre-planned as
I know,
well. I mean,
I'm
look,
sure.
Biden just turned 78 years old
Yeah,
the other day. The guy should be locked up in a nursing home with our grandparents. He shouldn't be running around this. I mean, it's such a joke that these people are taking this seriously. Like, I went on Wikipedia today. Wikipedia still lists him as the president-elect who defeated Donald Trump, and you can't edit it.
yeah.
So I think Wikipedia should lose their nonprofit status for interfering in our election, and I think National Public Radio, those guys are going to get defunded.
I think they're all going to get smacked. I think this is going to be huge. It's going to be like so overwhelming. It's like a, like you said, like it's like an atomic bomb. It just blows up everything that
Right.
was going.
But it brings you back to the old archaic salute. You lift up your
Yeah.
visor to show the
Yeah.
other guy who you are,
Yeah,
right? And he sees who you are. So you tell your friends from your enemies, okay? And at this point,
we know who the enemies are. They've revealed
everyone
themselves.
has revealed themselves.
That's
Everyone
right.
has chosen a side. And one side is really like absurdly cartoonish, and
Yeah,
it's like Boris and Natasha. It's crazy.
it really is.
It's like a cartoon, like
It
Rocky
is like
Bullwinkle.
it is.
And
We're
then you got
watching
the other
Bullwinkle.
side.
The Democrats are Bullwinkle.
These people, these other guys, these MAGA patriots going down to DC, waving a bunch of American flags and having a grand old time like a Memorial Day parade. They're all or one of these yeah, like a Memorial Day parade. It's just this like,
Yeah,
oh, those Nazis. Look, it's like Nuremberg. No, that's like the Memorial Day parade your grandfather took to when you were a kid. There's
right.
nothing Nazified about that. The hell you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the problem. We have to re-educate the people to the founding principles of our
I
country,
don't
and
have to
and
re-educate
you know,
nobody. We paid for
no,
their
the
schooling.
future generations have
Look,
to learn.
they took the same final exam as us. They watch Schoolhouse Rock. They know they could sing Schoolhouse Rock verbatim. They
I'm
got
talking
the
about the
same
kids.
diploma we got. They don't have to re-educate them. If you're gonna be a dumbass, fine. Just don't work for the government. Don't think you're gonna work for the government after this. You ain't
Well,
working for no
Oh,
government federal job.
this is going to be something else. It really is. I can't wait to watch how it unfolds. Listen, I thank you for having me again. It's always great to
Welcome,
talk with you, Rob.
welcome to my channel. Yeah.
It's great. I think the new effects are going to be good. And thanks for turning me on to this. I really love it. I'm going to have to start experimenting with this, but really excellent talk. Hey, everybody, subscribe to Rob over here. He's at Daily Eagle News 1 on Twitter.
Daily
And
Eagle one at Daily Eagle number one.
Right.
The other Daily Eagle beat me to it,
that's too bad.
and we're
And
gonna. And
yeah, and
Howie's
I'm
at
at howardnema.com.
Truth
Right.
Talk News, various channels. We'll
Right.
talk again real soon, my friend.
You too, brother.
My young
Look forward to it. A lot of things coming down. There's gonna be a lot more activity. We're gonna be doing a lot more talks. And these are historic times. That's all I gotta say. It's unbelievable what's coming down the pike.
Okay,
All right. God bless you all. Till next time.
just say MAGA.